بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم. Today we will start to discuss subject of the knee joint. Knee joint is the largest and most complicated joint in the body. Basically speaking, consists of three parts: two condylar joints between medial and lateral condyles of the femur and corresponding condyles of the tibia, which means medial and lateral tibial condyles, and a third joint, which is a gliding joint between the patella anteriorly and the patellar surface of the femur posteriorly. Note that fibula is not directly involved in the joint. So the articulation in the knee joint: above are the rounded condyles of the femur, below are the condyles of the tibia with their cartilaginous menisci. In front, the articulation between the lower end of the femur and the patella. The articular surfaces of the femur, tibia, and patella are covered by hyaline cartilage. Type of the knee joint: the joint between the femur and the tibia is a synovial joint of hinge variety, but some degree of rotation is possible at the joint. The joint between the patella and the femur is also a synovial joint, but it is of plain gliding variety. Since it is synovial joint, so it is from the outside is covered by capsule. So the capsule of the knee joint is attached to the margins of the articular surfaces and surrounds the sides and posterior aspect of the joint. In the front of the joint, the capsule is absent, and this permits the synovial membrane to pouch up beneath the quadriceps femoris tendon, forming what is called suprapatellar bursa. On each side of the patella, the capsule is strengthened by expansion from the tendon of the vastus lateralis and medialis muscles. Behind the joint, the capsule is also strengthened by an expansion of the semimembranosus muscle, which called oblique popliteal ligament. An opening in the capsule behind the lateral tibial condyle permits the tendon of the popliteus muscle to emerge. Ligaments of the knee joints. Ligaments of the knee joints are divided into two types of ligaments. First type, called extracapsular ligament, which means the ligament that are situated outside the capsule of the knee joint. And these ligaments are the following ligaments. First, ligamentum patelli is attached above to the lower border of the patella and below to the tuberosity of the tibia. It is in fact a continuation of the central part of the common tendon of the quadriceps femoris muscle. Second ligament is lateral collateral ligament. Is cord-like and is attached above to the lateral condyle of the femur and below to the head of the fibula. The tendon of the popliteus muscle intervenes between the lateral ligament and the lateral meniscus. Third extracapsular ligament is medial collateral ligament. Is a flat band and is attached above to the medial condyle of the femur and below to the medial surface of the shaft of tibia and is firmly attached to the edge of the medial meniscus. The fourth extracapsular ligament is called oblique popliteal ligament, which is a tendinous expansion derived from the semimembranosus muscle and strengthens the posterior aspect of the capsule of the knee joint. In this figure, it illustrates for us the extracapsular ligaments. If you look to this figure, this is a lateral view of the knee joint. You can see anteriorly the ligamentum patelli or patellar ligament, and you can see here the lateral collateral ligament. From this medial view of the knee joint, you can see ligamentum patelli anteriorly and here medial collateral ligaments. An important point in the lateral view that this tendon of the popliteus muscle tendon, it intervenes, lies between the lateral collateral ligament and the lateral meniscus, whereas medial collateral ligament here in the medial view, it lies in direct contact with the medial meniscus of the knee joint. This is another figure, shows frontal view for the knee joint. You can see this is a patella and this is ligamentum patelli, which is a continuation of the tendon of the quadriceps femoris muscle below the patella and is attached inferiorly to the tibial tuberosity. In the posterior view, you can see the oblique popliteal ligament, which strengthens the posterior surface of the capsule of the knee joint. Second type of the ligament of the knee joint are the ligaments that lies inside the capsule of the knee joint, and they are called intracapsular ligaments. These are two ligaments called cruciate ligaments. So cruciate ligaments are two strong intracapsular ligaments that cross each other within the joint cavity. They are named as anterior and posterior cruciate ligaments according to their tibial attachments. These important ligaments are the main bond between the femur and the tibia throughout the joint's range of movement. Phase 1, anterior cruciate ligament is attached to the anterior intercondylar area of the tibia and passes up, back, and laterally to attach to the posterior part, medial surface of the lateral femoral condyle. The anterior cruciate ligament prevents the posterior displacement of the femur on the tibia. Second type of intracapsular ligament is the posterior cruciate ligament. It is attached to the posterior part of intercondylar area of the tibia and passes up, forward, and medially to attach to the anterior part of the lateral surface of the medial femoral condyle. The posterior cruciate ligament prevents the anterior displacements of the femur on the tibia. And in this figure you can see the arrangements of the cruciate ligament. Cruciate ligament, they are crossed ligament. This is the first one, is the anterior cruciate ligament. You can see it takes its name from its tibial attachment, and it ascends above to attach to the lateral femoral condyle. And posteriorly you can see the posterior cruciate ligament, which ascends above to attach to the lateral surface of the medial femoral condyles. Both these two ligaments are lying within the capsule of the knee joint, so they are called intracapsular ligaments. Menisci. The menisci are C-shaped sheets of fibrocartilage, and the peripheral border is thick and is attached to the capsule of the knee joint. The inner border is thin and concave and forms a free edge. The upper surface of the menisci are in contact with the femoral condyle, whereas the lower surfaces are in contact with the tibial condyle. Their main function is to deepen the articular surfaces of the tibial condyles to receive the convex femoral condyles, because the articular surfaces of the tibial condyles are flat surfaces, so they get more deepened by the presence of these two menisci. They also serve as a cushion between the two bones. Each meniscus is attached to the upper surface of the tibia by two horns. One is anterior horn and the other is posterior horn. Because the medial meniscus is attached to the medial collateral ligament, it is relatively immobile or fixed. Here, a transverse section through the knee joint, and it is viewed from above. You can see the site of attachment of the menisci. On the medial side, medial meniscus. On the lateral side, lateral meniscus. You can see each meniscus, the C-shaped structure, has an anterior horn and posterior horn, and you can see that the tendon of the popliteus muscle intervenes between the lateral meniscus and the capsule of the knee joint, whereas the medial meniscus is in direct contact with the capsule of the knee joint. So this makes the medial meniscus is more fixed than the lateral meniscus. Since the knee joint is a synovial joint, so it containing synovial membrane. Synovial membrane lines the capsule of the knee joint and is attached to the margin of the articular surfaces on the front and above the joint. It forms a pouch which extends up beneath the quadriceps femoris muscle, forming what is called suprapatellar bursa. At the back of the joint, the synovial membrane is prolonged downward on the deep surface of the tendon of the popliteus muscle, forming what is called popliteal bursa. A bursa is interposed between the medial head of gastrocnemius and medial femoral condyle and semimembranosus tendon, called semimembranosus bursa. The synovial membrane is reflected forward from the posterior part of the capsule around the front of the cruciate ligaments, and as a result, the cruciate ligament, they will lie behind the synovial cavity, and they are not bathed in synovial fluid. In the anterior part of the joint, the synovial membrane is reflected backward from the posterior surface of the ligamentum patelli to form an intrapatellar fold. In this view, you can see the synovial membrane red in color in this figure. Is an important thing that the synovial membrane within the knee joint, it lines the whole cavity of the capsule from inside. An important note that the synovial membrane posteriorly will be reflected in front of cruciate ligament. So the cruciate ligament, they are lying outside the synovial cavity, and hence they are not bathed, not washed by a synovial fluid. So they call these ligaments, which is the cruciate ligament, as intracapsular ligament, but they are extrasynovial ligament. Extrasynovial means outside synovial cavity. Bursa related to the knee joint: 4 bursa situated in front, 6 bursa situated behind. Anterior bursa are suprapatellar bursa, prepatellar bursa, superficial infrapatellar, and deep infrapatellar bursa. Posterior bursa are popliteal bursa, semimembranosus bursa, biceps femoris bursa, sartorius gracilis bursa, semitendinosus bursa, and gastrocnemius bursa. Nerve supply to the knee joint are femoral nerve, obturator nerve, common peroneal and tibial nerve. Movement available in the knee joint: the knee joint can flex, extend, rotate. as the knee joint assumes the position of full extension, there is a medial rotation of the femur, which results in twisting and tightening of all major ligaments of the knee joint. And this movement is called locking of the joint, locking of the knee joint. As opposite to this movement, before the flexion of the knee joint, which is fully locked, it is essential that a major ligament to be untwisted and slackened to permit movement between the joint surfaces, and this unlocking or untwisting process is accomplished by popliteus muscle. When the knee joint is flexed at a right angle, there is a considerable range of rotation is possible. In the flexed position, the tibia can also be moved passively forward and backward on the femur. And this is possible because the major ligament, especially cruciate ligament, are slack in this position. Flexion of the knee joint accomplished by biceps femoris, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, gracilis, sartorius, and popliteus muscle. Extension by quadriceps femoris muscle is accomplished by sartorius, gracilis, semitendinosus muscle. Lateral rotation is done by biceps femoris muscle. Important relation of the knee joint: anteriorly, prepatellar bursa; posteriorly, the popliteal vessel, tibial and common peroneal nerve, lymph nodes, and the muscles that form the boundaries of the popliteal fossa, which are the semimembranosus, semitendinosus, biceps femoris, two head of gastrocnemius, and plantaris muscle. Medial relation: sartorius, gracilis, and semitendinosus muscle. Lateral relation: biceps femoris and common peroneal nerve. Thank you.